The rain came down in sheets, turning the streets of Manhattan into rivers of reflected neon and headlights. Inside the Golden Pearl, the city's most exclusive seafood restaurant, the atmosphere was warm and insulated from the chaos outside. Crystal glasses clinked, soft jazz played from hidden speakers, and the city's wealthy elite enjoyed their Thursday evening in comfort. Zara Mitchell checked her reflection in the polished silver of a serving tray before pushing through the kitchen doors. Her dark skin glowed under the restaurant's flattering lights, her hair pulled back in the tight bun required by management. She'd been working at the Golden Pearl for 8 months now, saving every penny she could toward her real dream, opening a catering business that would showcase her grandmother's recipes, the ones passed down through generations of women who'd turned cooking into an art form. "Table 7 needs water," Marco, the floor manager, said as she passed. "And table 14 just seated, VIP section." Zara nodded, grabbing a water pitcher. Table 14 was in the private alcove, reserved for celebrities, politicians, and the ultra-wealthy who wanted to dine without being photographed. She'd served plenty of famous faces in her months here, actors, musicians, tech moguls who wore hoodies worth thousands of dollars. Most were polite enough. Some were demanding. A few were genuinely kind. She approached table 14 with her professional smile in place, but faltered slightly when she saw who sat there. Ethan Blackwood. Even someone who didn't follow business news would recognize him. He'd been on the cover of Time magazine last month, dubbed the King of Digital Commerce for his revolutionary shopping platform that had transformed how millions of people bought everything from groceries to furniture. He sat with 3 other men, all in expensive suits, all radiating that particular confidence that came from never having to worry about money. Ethan himself was younger than she'd expected, maybe 35, with dark hair styled perfectly, sharp features, and eyes that were currently fixed on his phone's screen. "Good evening, gentlemen," Zara said warmly. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" "Scotch, Macallan 25, one of the men said without looking up. "Same," another chimed in. Ethan glanced up briefly. "Sparkling water, San Pellegrino." "Excellent choices. I'll have those right out for you." Zara moved to leave, but one of the men, a silver-haired executive with a ruddy complexion, cleared his throat. "Actually, sweetheart, we're celebrating a major deal tonight. Think you could manage a smile with a bit more enthusiasm? We're paying enough for it." Zara's smile didn't waver, though something tight formed in her chest. "Of course, sir. Congratulations on your deal. I'll be right back with your drinks." She'd made it maybe 3 steps when she heard it. Ethan's voice, not quite low enough, carrying that careless tone of someone who didn't think the help really counted as people who could be hurt. Could they have found a less attractive waitress? I mean, honestly, Gerald, you said this place had standards. "Oh, come on, Ethan," Gerald started, but Ethan cut him off. "I'm serious. It's called ambience. Fine dining is about the total experience, and having someone that ugly serving us kind of ruins the mood. They should stick to hearing the pretty ones for the VIP section." Laughter from the table. Not from all of them. She could hear discomfort in some of the chuckles, but enough. Zara felt the words like a slap. She kept walking, kept her spine straight, kept her face neutral until she made it back to the service station. Only then did she let herself breathe, let herself feel the hot shame and anger burning in her throat. Ugly. She'd faced racism before, both subtle and overt. She dealt with customers who assumed she was less intelligent, less capable, less deserving of respect because of her skin color. But this particular brand of casual cruelty, this reduction of her entire being to her appearance, and the dismissal of that appearance as unworthy, hit differently. "You okay?" Jasmine, another server, appeared at her elbow. "You look upset." "I'm fine, just need a minute." "Was it table 14, those Wall Street guys?" "It doesn't matter." Zara poured the drinks with shaking hands. "I need this job." "Doesn't mean you have to take abuse." "It wasn't abuse, just honesty, I guess." The words tasted bitter. Jasmine gripped her arm. "Don't let them make you believe that. You're beautiful, Zara, inside and out, and anyone who can't see that is blind." Zara appreciated the support, but it didn't erase the hurt. She delivered the drinks with mechanical efficiency, avoiding eye contact, taking their food orders and escaping as quickly as possible. For the rest of their meal, she had Marco reassign the table to Thomas, claiming she had too many other tables to manage properly. At home that night, in her tiny studio apartment in Queens, Zara stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. She saw what she'd always seen, a face with features that reflected her African heritage, full lips, a broad nose, high cheekbones, and eyes that were maybe a little too intense. Her grandmother had always called her striking. Her mother said she had regal beauty, but she'd never fit conventional standards, never looked like the models in magazines or the actresses in movies. She'd made peace with that years ago. Or so she'd thought. She picked up her phone and scrolled through her business plan documents, the catering company she'd been planning for 2 years. She had the recipes, the skills, a small network of potential clients. What she didn't have was capital. She needed another 6 months of savings to afford a commercial kitchen rental and basic equipment. 6 more months of swallowing her pride and serving people who looked through her. Worth it, she told herself. Keep your eyes on the goal. But Ethan Blackwood's words echoed in her head as she tried to sleep that night. 4 days later, Zara stood in the community center kitchen, supervising 15 teenagers as they prepared meals for the local homeless shelter. This was her real passion, teaching cooking skills while mentoring young people who needed guidance. The program ran every Monday evening, funded by a small nonprofit that operated on grants and donations. Ms. Zara, is this enough garlic? Deshawn held up a cutting board covered in minced cloves. Perfect. Now add it to your pot with the onions. Remember, we want to hear that sizzle. That means the oil is hot enough. When can I start using a knife? 10-year-old Imani asked, watching enviously as the older kids chopped vegetables. When you're 11, like we discussed, but you can help me measure the rice. That's very important. The kitchen filled with the sounds of cooking, knives on cutting boards, oil popping. Timers beeping, teenage voices arguing good-naturedly about seasoning. This was where Zara felt most herself, most valuable, most alive. Excuse me, is this the youth cooking program? Zara looked up from the pot she'd been stirring. A man stood in the doorway, expensive casual clothes, designer sneakers, the kind of carefully tousled hair that required a costly stylist. It took her a moment to place him without the suit and the dim restaurant lighting. Ethan Blackwood. Her stomach dropped. Can I help you? She asked, her voice carefully neutral. I'm looking for the program coordinator. I'm interested in making a donation or volunteering. He stepped into the kitchen, looking around with what seemed like genuine curiosity. This is impressive. How many kids do you work with? 15 this session, 20 in the summer program. Zara stirred her pot with more force than necessary. The coordinator is Susan Chen. She's in the office down the hall. Great, thanks. He started to leave, then paused, turning back. Have we met? You look familiar. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, Zara thought. I don't believe so. Sorry, I'm usually good with faces. He smiled, charming, warm, completely oblivious. I'm Ethan. Zara, she didn't offer her hand. Nice to meet you, Zara. This smells amazing, by the way. What are you making? Chicken jollof rice, West African dish. I'd love to try it sometime. Is the program open to adult students? Despite herself, despite everything, Zara felt a flicker of pride in her work. We focus on youth development, teaching cooking skills while building confidence and community. Most of these kids come from food-insecure households. Learning to cook nutritious meals on a budget is life-changing. That's incredible. Ethan's interest seemed genuine. Do you need ingredients, equipment? I'd really like to help. Talk to Susan about donations. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a class to teach. She turned back to her students, dismissing him. From the corner of her eye, she saw him hesitate, then finally leave. The moment he was gone, her shoulders relaxed. Who is that? Deshawn asked. Nobody important, Zara said. Let's focus on getting this rice perfect. Remember what I taught you about testing for doneness. but she couldn't quite shake the surreal feeling of the encounter. Ethan Blackwood hadn't recognized her. She'd been so beneath his notice that 4 days later, he couldn't even place her face. Meanwhile, his careless words were still echoing in her head. The universe, Zara thought, had a twisted sense of humor. Over the next week, the universe's sense of humor got even more twisted. Ethan Blackwood, it turned out, had made a substantial donation to the community center, enough to fund their cooking program for an entire year. He'd also, apparently, signed up to volunteer. He specifically requested our cooking program, Susan told Zara excitedly. Said he was impressed by what he saw. This is huge, Zara. A tech billionaire taking interest in our work. The publicity alone could help us secure more funding. That's great, Zara managed weakly. He's starting next Monday. I thought he could shadow you, learn how the program works. Me? Why me? You're our best instructor, and he seemed particularly interested in your approach. Susan beamed. This could be really good for us. So the following Monday, Zara found herself preparing for class with Ethan Blackwood standing awkwardly in her kitchen workspace, wearing jeans and a t-shirt that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Okay, she said briskly, handing him an apron. First rule, you do what I say when I say it. These kids need consistency and structure. Second rule, you're here to help them, not to be the center of attention. Check your ego at the door. Third rule, respect the food and respect the process. Cooking is about more than following recipes. It's about culture, love, and care. Understood? Yes, ma'am, he tied on the apron. I'm here to learn. Good, you're on vegetable prep. The kids will show you what to do. She paired him with Marcus and Keisha, two of her most confident students, and watched as they bossed him around with teenage authority. To his credit, Ethan took direction well, asking questions, making mistakes, laughing when Marcus corrected his knife technique. Mr. Ethan, you gotta curve your fingers like this, Marcus demonstrated. Otherwise, you're gonna lose a fingertip, and Miss Zara will have our heads. Can't have that, Ethan said solemnly. I need my fingertips for typing. What do you type? Keisha asked. Code, computer programming. I run a tech company. Oh, you're like Bill Gates rich. Ethan laughed, something like that. Then why you here chopping onions? It was a good question. Zara found herself curious about the answer as she pretended to focus on her own station. Because I spend all day looking at screens and numbers, Ethan said thoughtfully. And I realized I'd forgotten what it felt like to make something real, something that nourishes people. Plus, my grandma used to say a man who can't cook can't take care of himself, and I've been proving her right by eating takeout every night. Our grandma says that too, Keisha exclaimed. She says cooking is survival. Wise grandmas think alike. Despite herself, Zara felt her opinion of him shift slightly. He was good with the kids, patient, humble, genuinely engaged. When little Imani showed him her careful rice measurements, he praised her with real warmth. When Deshawn's pot threatened to boil over, Ethan didn't panic or yell, just calmly helped him adjust the heat. At the end of class, as they were cleaning up, Ethan approached her. Thank you for letting me be part of this. Honestly, it was the best evening I've had in months. The kids appreciated the extra help, Zara said neutrally. Can I come back next week? Susan handles volunteer schedules. Right, of course. He paused. Zara, I still feel like we've met before. It's driving me crazy. Are you sure? I'm sure. She met his eyes directly. Trust me, you'd remember if we'd actually met. Something in her tone made him frown, but before he could pursue it, Marcus called him over to ask about computer programming. The moment passed. As Zara drove home that night, she felt conflicted. The man who'd volunteered at the community center, that man seemed decent. Kind, even, but he was the same man who'd called her ugly without a second thought. The same man who'd reduced her worth to her appearance and found her lacking. People contain multitudes, her grandmother used to say. They could be good and bad, kind and cruel all at once. But which version was the real Ethan Blackwood? And why was she starting to care? 3 weeks into Ethan's volunteering, The community center became a different place every Monday. He showed up religiously, on time, eager to help. He learned the kids' names, remembered their stories, brought special ingredients when Zara mentioned wanting to try a new recipe. He'd even set up a small fund to help program graduates attend culinary school if they wanted. And slowly, despite every intention otherwise, Zara found herself warming to him. "Ms. Zara, can Mr. Ethan be my partner today?" Imani asked one Monday, tugging on Zara's sleeve. "He promised to teach me about computers." "After cooking," Ethan said, appearing behind them. "Deal." "Deal." Zara watched them work together, Ethan's dark head bent close to Imani's braided one as he showed her how to properly crack eggs. There was something gentle in the way he taught, patient and encouraging. It reminded her of her own father, who taught her to cook before he'd passed. "He's good with them," Susan said quietly, coming to stand beside Zara. "Natural teacher, and the kids adore him." "Yeah," Zara admitted, "he is. He asks about you, you know. Wants to know your story, your background, your plans. I think he's interested." Zara's stomach tightened. "Susan." I know. You're focused on your business. But Zara, honey, when was the last time you let yourself have something just for you? Not for your future, not for these kids, not for your family. Just for you. I don't need. We all need connection. And I see the way you look at him when you think no one's watching. Did she look at him? Zara wasn't sure. She'd been so careful to maintain her distance, to remember who he really was beneath the volunteer facade. But sometimes, when he laughed at one of Marcus's jokes, or when he listened with complete focus as Keisha talked about her college dreams, Zara felt something shift in her chest. It was dangerous, it was foolish. It was happening anyway. That evening, after the kids had left and the kitchen was clean, Ethan lingered. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "That depends on the question." "Why cooking? I mean, you're clearly talented, educated. Susan mentioned you have a business degree. You could do anything. Why this?" Zara considered deflecting, but something about the genuine curiosity in his face made her honest. "My grandmother raised me after my parents died," she said, leaning against the counter. "We didn't have much money, but she could make magic with whatever we had. Rice, beans, a few vegetables, she'd turn it into a feast. She taught me that cooking was about more than food. It was about dignity, about taking care of people, about creating beauty and nourishment even when the world was hard." Ethan listened intently, not interrupting. "When she got sick, I was 15. I cooked for her, tried to make her smile with her favorite dishes. She died anyway, but those meals we shared, they mattered. They were love made tangible." Zara's throat tightened. "I want to do that for others. Create a catering business that serves communities like mine. Affordable, beautiful food for celebrations. Because everyone deserves to mark life's moments with something special, not just the wealthy." "That's beautiful," Ethan said softly. "And you're working toward this, the catering business." "Saving up. It takes capital to start. Commercial kitchen space, equipment, licensing. I'm about halfway there." "How much do you need?" Zara stiffened. "I'm not asking you for money." "I know, but I'm offering. Let me invest." "No," the word came out sharp. "Thank you, but no. This is something I need to do myself." "Why? I invest in promising ventures all the time. This would be charity, and I don't need your charity, Ethan." She started gathering her things. "I need to go." "Wait, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. You're incredible, Zara. What you do here, your vision for your business, the way you connect with people. I want to help." "Why?" "What do you mean, why?" "Why do you care? You're a tech billionaire. You could be anywhere doing anything. Why are you really here?" Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Because I've spent the last 5 years building an empire and forgot to build a life. I forgot what mattered. Coming here, cooking with these kids, learning from you, it reminds me there's more to success than stock prices and market share." "And that just suddenly occurred to you?" "No, it's been building for a while. But a few weeks ago, something happened that made me look at myself and not like what I saw. I realized I'd become someone I didn't respect. so I'm trying to change that." There was something raw in his voice, something genuine. Zara wanted to stay angry, to keep her walls up, but they were crumbling. "I should tell you something," she said before she could stop herself. "We have met before. I do know you." Ethan's eyes widened. "What? Where?" "The Golden Pearl. About a month ago, I was your waitress." She watched recognition dawn on his face, followed immediately by confusion, then, as memory clearly returned, by horror. "Oh my God, Zara, I called me ugly. Yes, you did." The color drained from his face. I don't even. God, what is wrong with me?" He sat down heavily on a stool. "That's why you've been so distant. Why you looked at me like, Zara, I am so sorry. That was inexcusable. Cruel. I was showing off for clients, being the worst version of myself, and I hurt you. I'm sorry." "Do you even remember doing it? Or did I just blend into all the other service people you've dismissed?" "I remember." His voice was rough. "I remember being that asshole, and I've hated myself for it ever since." "Since when? Since you figured out who I was?" "Since that night." He met her eyes. "Something Gerald said after you left. He called me out, said I was being unnecessarily cruel. At first I brushed it off, but it stuck with me, kept eating at me. Made me look at how I'd been treating people, how entitled and dismissive I'd become. That's what brought me here. I was trying to figure out how to be better." Zara studied him, trying to see through to the truth. "And if you'd never met me again, if I was just some waitress you insulted and never saw again, would you still care?" "I'd like to think so, but honestly, I don't know. Maybe it took this, seeing you here, learning who you are, realizing the person I'd hurt was someone extraordinary, to really drive the lesson home. And that makes me feel even worse because you shouldn't have to be extraordinary for me to treat you with basic human decency." "No, I shouldn't. I can't undo what I said. I can't take back that hurt. But Zara, please know you are not ugly. You never were. You're stunning. Not just physically, though you are beautiful, but the way you teach, the way you care. The strength and grace you carry. You're one of the most captivating people I've ever met." Zara felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back angrily. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to hurt me and then show up and be kind and make me feel." She stopped. "Make you feel what?" "Confused, angry, like maybe I'm starting to." She shook her head. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." Ethan stood, moving closer but not touching her. "These past few weeks, getting to know you, have been the best part of my days. You challenge me. You inspire me. You make me want to be the person you see when you look at me now, not the person I was at that restaurant." "I'm scared," Zara admitted, the words barely a whisper. "I'm scared of being hurt again, of letting myself care about someone who could dismiss me so easily." "Then don't trust who I was. Trust who I'm trying to become. And if I ever treat you or anyone else with that kind of disrespect again, you have my permission to walk away and never look back." "That's not how it works, Ethan. You don't get to give me permission. And you can't erase the past by volunteering a few weeks." "I know, so what can I do? How do I earn your trust?" Zara considered. "Keep showing up, not just here but in your life. Be the person who sees people's humanity, not their utility. And understand that even if you do everything right, I might not be able to get past what happened. That's the consequence of cruelty. Sometimes the damage is permanent." "I understand." He looked at her with such raw vulnerability that it made her chest ache. "But I'm still going to try, because you're worth it." Over the following months, Ethan proved his words. He showed up every Monday without fail. He donated to the center, but never made it about recognition. He refused to let them name anything after him. He started treating his own employees differently too. Zara learned from Susan that he'd implemented new policies at his company, increasing wages and improving working conditions. And slowly, so slowly, Zara's walls came down. They started having coffee after Monday classes, then dinner occasionally. They talked about everything, their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Ethan told her about the pressure of building a company, the loneliness at the top. Zara shared her business plans in detail, and Ethan listened without trying to fix or fund everything, just supporting and brainstorming. "My grandmother would have liked you," Zara said one evening as they walked through the park near her apartment. Yeah. She believed people could change. That growth was always possible. Zara paused by a bench, looking up at him. I'm starting to believe it too. Zara, Ethan's hand found hers. I know I don't deserve you. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I'm falling for you, have been for weeks, and I need you to know that. Her heart hammered against her ribs. I'm falling for you too, and it terrifies me. We'll go slow as you need. What if people judge us? A billionaire and a waitress. You're not a waitress. You're an educator, an entrepreneur, a force of nature. And anyone who reduces you to a job title doesn't deserve your time. He cupped her face gently. Can I kiss you? Instead of answering, Zara pulled him down to her, pressing her lips to his. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, then deeper as weeks of building tension finally released. When they pulled apart, both were breathless. I have conditions, Zara said, if we do this. Name them. You keep volunteering, not because of me, but because you care about those kids. Done. You never, ever make me feel less than. Not my appearance, not my background, nothing. The moment you do, I'm gone. You have my word. And you help me with my business plan. Advice only, no money. And you let me succeed or fail on my own merit. That one's harder, but yes. Zara smiled. Then let's try this, whatever this is. What it was, they discovered over the following year, was transformative. Ethan became not just a better partner, but a better person, more grounded and aware. Zara learned to trust again, to believe that she was worthy of love regardless of how the world saw her. Her catering business launched 8 months later. She called it Grandmother's Kitchen, and it was everything she dreamed, a celebration of culture and community through food. Ethan attended the opening, not as an investor but as her boyfriend, proud and supportive in the background. I still can't believe this is real sometimes, Zara admitted, as they cleaned up after the successful first event. Which part, the business or us? Both, all of it. She leaned against him. A year ago I was nobody to you, less than nobody. You were never nobody. I was just too blind to see. Ethan kissed her temple. Thank you for giving me a chance to earn your forgiveness, to become someone worthy of you. Thank you for actually doing the work to change. She turned in his arms. And for seeing me, really seeing me. I see you, Zara Mitchell, and you're the most beautiful thing in my world. This time, when he said beautiful, she believed him. Not because her appearance had changed, but because his perspective had. He saw her heart, her strength, her brilliance, and that made all the difference. The journey from that cruel moment at the Golden Pearl to this, standing in her own kitchen in his arms, with her dream made real, had been painful and complex. But it had also been necessary, because it taught them both what really mattered. Not surfaces, not appearances, not the shallow judgments that came so easily, but the content of character, the capacity for growth, and the courage to love despite the scars. Those things, Zara knew, were truly beautiful. If you enjoy this story, kindly subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more. See you in the next one.